have people from industry come in and they sit down and like every person who's designed a part of the car gets up and presents what they've done, and then everyone like tears them apart. Like not actually, but people will be like, hey, did you think about doing this? And it like builds a relation with your alumni, which is so cool. I love it when people come back, but also shows the industry what you've done, and you're like, hey, look at this cool thing I did, and then you chat with them, and they're like, hey, you're really cool, and then you write their name down, and like later you'll be like, hey, I'm applying for this job, like, do you think you could help me out there? So like, that's like what I can say. But feedback, like the speed networking that CSE did, I was sick on Tuesday, so I couldn't go, but I think that's super, super great. I think that's a really good opportunity. There you go. And I think we should really encourage like civil members to talk to people in the industry. So that's my feedback to that. Chan, can you hear me?
Thanks for the answer.
Yeah. For getting people with MESC for Tech Fair, are you aware that people, like companies pay Tech Fair to be there?
Yep.
You're aware of that? And how would you push other civil companies to be a part of Tech Fair if they're not interested right now because they can't afford it?
Okay, so it's something that I've already started working with MESC on. The way it is right now is that it's on a first come, first served basis. So if the invite goes out to all the companies out there, and then the first ones that send the answer back are the ones that show up at Tech Fair, essentially. And the difficulty with that is that it's all geared towards access students, because those are the first ones that come in.
But that's where
right?
the job market is.
And that's where I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's set up right, and I think it's flawed fundamentally that way. So I think it should almost be a quota system where it's like where the companies are invited based on companies are invited, and you have to fill a certain percentage based on the student population.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
It's something I've already started, and we've got kind of like we're going, but I didn't want to do anything more because I don't have a position to say that yet.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's really interesting. The second thing is, how would your mentoring program vary from the CAPS mentoring program that exists, and how would you make sure that it's not redundant?
So to be honest, I don't know what the CAPS mentoring program is. I've heard about it. Could you explain it a little bit?
Just like CAPS is like very pushing for this mentorship program. They have connections in industry for like all of McGill.
Yeah.
So that you email them, you're like, hey, I'm in this position. I'm like, this is the what job I'm interested in doing, and they'll connect you with someone.
Sure.
Preferably.
Yeah. So for me, I've done, as I mentioned before, I've done a similar initiative in the McGill Society of Petroleum Engineers. I just started it in January, and essentially we're paying current students with recent alumni in that industry. So that's the same for us. We collect the information from the students, what kind of industry they're looking to get into, and then we'll look into our alumni database in civil and kind of pair people up that way so that people's alignments are there. So it's more. The difficulty I see with the CAPS program is that it's going to be too much oversight, because you're going to be doing it for the entire university, and you're not going to necessarily match. The questions are going to be so general that you can't match people properly. Whereas ours is specifically targeted to civil. So we know the correct questions to ask and the correct way to pair people together.
Okay, that's it. Where would you put these two projects under? Like, would Tech Fair go to the academic, and would mentoring program go under internal or something? Or would president take it on top of all the meetings you have to go to?
It's something I would have to talk with the CSE president about, because there's so many things that we can do. I know you mentioned the industry dinner, but I want to work with the CSE president to see what capabilities they have, right? I don't want to promise something that they can't commit to. So it's just about working together and figuring out, what can you guys take on, what makes sense, and what can we keep under our portfolio. Okay. That's the way I feel about it.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions?
Sorry, so about the VP external thing again, just because you guys have kind of went back to it, I was just wondering, because you said something really interesting about how the CSE president was elected. Is there anything that people can do about that? If it's like a voting member of the CSE, like, is there anything that, like, the way that the VP external / CSE president is elected can be changed? I don't know.
In the Constitution, it says the CSE president is elected through their own bylaws. And that's through, so you would have to change you would have to go to CSE and be like, change your bylaws.
Which they like
probably.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Rob, were you finished?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's the way things are. But the way I answer it is, to quote a cheesy movie, build it and they will come, right? If our program is good and CSE is putting out really great events, people are going to pay the $10 to be part of CSE. It's kind of like the horse before the cart kind of situation right now. Right now, there's not that many people involved in CSE that's not represented at CEUS, but once the CSE builds great events that everyone wants to be a part of, I think the representation is going to be there between CEUS and CSE essentially. So I don't see that being a problem long term once the events are formalized and established.
My only comment on that is we already pay student fees that go to civil. I don't know if you know that, but you already pay student fees in your tuition that goes to civil. Why should you spend $10 more? That's all. That's do you have any?
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, so sorry. I know people come from different financial situations, but it's $10.
That's fine.
However, still no kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think this year they don't even charge a fee, from what I understand.
Oh, okay, that's.
But I might be wrong. But okay. So my first question is, so like time commitments to both of you. How is that?
Like commitments for next year?
Yeah.
The only thing I'm doing is I'm doing the conference on diversity and engineering in November, and I'm VP volunteers. So that'll be intensive in November, but I don't think at any other point. I do realize it's going to be a time commitment for that part, but I know I can handle it. I'm working with a good team, and I can deal with that as well. But also, I trust my CEUS team in council that I think will be up and running by November. And if I'm gone a little bit, it'll be fine. But that's my only commitment. As for time commitment, I'm not doing anything else. I do understand the time commitment. There's a lot that goes into present that people don't see. It's all meetings, and everyone's like, oh, meetings, whatever. But like meetings take up your life. Like I was VP clubs and admin, and I just like ran around to meetings all the time. But I love meetings, so it's all good. But I know like you sit on CEUS council, which could be 1 hour, 2 hours. I don't know how much longer you guys go, hopefully not longer than that. Like EUS council takes 3 hours every 2 weeks, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. It's gone super late before. On top of that, like meeting with like faculty. Sorry, it's okay. Meeting with faculty takes up a lot of time, so I understand there is a lot of time commitment that goes behind the role that is not really seen, and I'm totally okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. So the question is like in terms of like time commitment for next year, like
I did not hear that at all.
Okay,
So-
sorry, can I?
Yeah.
Explain it? So, can I close what? Okay, so Prashant is asking about your time commitments for next year, and will you be able to fulfill the time required for the president position?
Yeah, I have no doubts about that. I've maintained a good academic standing here at McGill through my 3 years here, and I've been incredibly involved. I was U2 Civilian of the Year last year as well, so I've always been very involved in the community and still kept up good grades here. So for me, my commitments next year so far are that I'm still going to be one of the captains on the current canoe team, and I'm also going to be involved with the McGill Society of Petroleum Engineers in a bit of a lesser role, and CEUS president, of course, as well. But I see no problem with that as based on my history.
Okay. Well. So like as presidents, like do you understand exactly like what your position entails? So like how many hours do you think as president like you need to put in, including like your meetings and stuff like every week? Like what do you think the like as president
Sure.
what you have like your main focus would be if you were president? What would you focus on your time?
Okay, this was multiple parts. So the first part was, do you know how much of a time commitment this is? So do you know how many hours a week approximately you would have to spend doing this? And the second part was,
Well, like just how many hours like you're willing to like dedicate as
and
president?
how many
and
are
what
you
your
willing
main
to
focus-
dedicate this number of hours? How many hours are you willing to dedicate?
Okay.
You go first. You go first.
Oh, I'm first?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Sorry, I got lost here with the technical difficulties. So I don't know what the time commitment is. I haven't had a chance to ask about it, but I don't. The reason why I never asked about it is because I don't see it being a problem, as I think we just touched on essentially. And the workload is obviously going to change. It's not static. It's not going to be a constant X hours per week. So I know it's going to change, and the thing for me is that I know I can't do everything by myself, and that I'm very comfortable with delegating tasks to different people. So I think that the people we have here that are being considered for elections are very qualified, and that they're going to be good at their jobs, and I trust them to do their jobs. And the second part is, sorry, what's the second part of the question? I kind of didn't really ready to go down with that.
The second part was how much time are you willing to commit, but I think you kind of answered that already.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't be running unless I didn't think I could commit to it, so I think I answered it already.
It's so hard to put a number on it, but like I was saying before, let's say maybe an hour and a half, max 2 hours for a CEUS council if it goes long. We're going to say council is going to be easily 3 hours, maybe longer. So, and then plus meetings with faculty. So then let's say I want to estimate like 6-8 hours a week. That's not even including like the events you're going to and you have to be present for. So I'm going to say 6-8 hours a week. I'm totally willing to commit that time. I've done it before. I can do it again. I will do it again. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like I just asked to make sure that you guys are aware.
Yeah.
And can I ask one more question?
Okay, does anyone else have questions that they want to ask? Okay, so this will be the last question.
Yeah.
This is the last question.
Okay, well,
Good question.
well, like as president and like talking to other presidents before, like something that we've been trying to work on is a better relationship with our department and to the students. So, what do you see that needs to be improved on that, and like what do you want to do exactly, like in terms of like student department relationship?
Student department. Okay,
Yeah.
Communication is huge. I feel like it's a slogan, but anyways, no, communication is really big. I've been really impressed with what the U reps are saying this year, so I'm very, very hopeful for next year, because I do think class announcements are just communicating what is going on in civil is very important, but there's also a lot of things that CEUS Council doesn't communicate because it's boring, but US Council, a lot of stuff passes through that's really, really relevant to students, especially where your money's going, or I'm trying to think of anything right off the top of my head. They put in bylaws in place that are relevant to you, and I would love to see something in the newsletter that goes out, like saying like this is the update from like US Council. Like once again, not many people read the newsletter, but the people who do, I think, would find it really, really interesting. So that, like communication, feedback forms, I'm a huge fan of feedback forms. Not everyone fills them out, but also once again, a huge fan of feedback forms. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then meet and greets I think is also really important too. I'd love to do a meet and greet at the beginning of the year with free food because I love food. So, or just like hot chocolate or ice cream. Like turnout's always huge, but like turnout is always huge when you have food, and it seems like such like a cheap thing to do. But normally it doesn't cost that much to get a tub of ice cream, and like everyone will show up to your event to come talk to you.
Oh, I think I didn't say it clearly, but I meant like the civil department, like our profs.
Oh, okay, then with departments. Well, then once again, it's kind of the same thing. Well, maybe not feedback forms and free food, but talking to them, meeting with them, making sure you have some face-to-face time, that they know who you are, so that they can put a face to the name when you're sending some emails asking for things. I think just like a regular update with them. People don't like when things happen, like if rooms are taken up and they don't know what's happening, so like keep them in the loop, like send maybe like a monthly email being like, this is what we're doing on council, just so you know, and then like meet with them if they want to. That's my suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is about the relationship with the department faculty, in case you didn't get that, and how would you involve them more?
Okay. So for me, there's a few things. Number one would be civil and sandwiches. As I mentioned before, I want to expand that. So I think that'd be a good opportunity to bring students and profs together and really build a relationship. The second thing as well is I want to put more onus on the year reps, as I mentioned before. Sending feedback forms are great, and I mentioned also giving an incentive, like a $25 gift card to a lucky winner, for example, as being a way to improve feedback forms. But I want year reps to talk personally with the students in their year, right? If you send a feedback form out, a lot of people are just going to disregard it, but if you go talk to people and their friends and really understand their concerns about their professors that are there, I think it's a lot better, and then we can relay that up as one summary package, maybe in a monthly newsletter to the prof explaining kind of our concerns, so that they're updated constantly, right?
Okay, so that was our last question. I just want to say thank you, both of you guys, for dealing so well with the technical difficulties and the sort of newness associated with someone running from afar, but we really appreciate that. Thank you.